Hello, 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 and welcome to Live with Jesse and Melva. Uh, really appreciate you joining us for what we delight in. We delight in sharing information about love, marriage, and life. I have to tell you, I would say that over all of these years, and maybe before, um, I'm kind of a romantic. Actually, I'm absolutely romantic. So I am so excited about the good things that happen when people connect in their relationships. And people have all kinds of relationships. And I know that Jesse and I usually focus on love and marriage because that's what we do for our work. And that's what we nurture at home, our own. And we just have so many experiences and so many tools to share that we appreciate having this forum to share our what we've learned, what we've experienced, what we have shared with our clients over all these years. Because sometimes people are surprised when we're in conversation with them and we say anything about any challenge that we've had and how we dealt with it and what have you. I'm really glad that we have opportunities like this to let people know that we really are normal. And when we say, I know we're saying we, Jesse will be here in a second. When we say that conflict is growth trying to happen, we know through all of the years of all of the work that we have done, the personal work that we've done, the professional work that we've done, the spiritual work that we've done, we know that every moment in our life is an opportunity for growth. And we know that love and marriage, and sometimes other situations as well, parenting, work, that people that we're close to will tap into the most vulnerable parts of us. And when we have a strong reaction, that is a big, 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 big clue that growth is trying to happen. So all of the tips and tools that we share is all about growth. It's like we when we before we learned all of this, we had like tunnel vision in terms of focusing on things that could go wrong because that's the way our brains are wired, your brains are wired. Is part of the human experience. And so through all of our studies and things that we have experienced and that we're sharing with you, is what we have discovered. And one of the many things that we discovered is that this opportunity called life is a huge, huge classroom, giving us opportunities to expand beyond tunnel vision, looking at what's wrong, just trying to survive every single day. I mean, we have to do that first, and then we can be expansive. But looking at all these opportunities where we can tap into all of these qualities that we have within us that are underground. And anytime we get triggered, it's an opportunity for us to tap into the golden nuggets that are trying to be discovered, experienced, and expressed. Because there are statistics that talk about how human beings use just a fraction of their potential. And so, in sharing all of these tools with you, and like I said earlier, we have a lot. Part of our purpose and part of our mission is to share with you and others that there's just so much inside that just want to express. And we call those golden nuggets. We call those hidden treasures. And we even wrote about it. I mean, our book is called Mining for Gold in Your Relationship. And there will be another one coming. I'm not going to say when, because it took us a long time to write the first one. just I'll just share with you that it is in process. So anyway, so we have been sharing secrets to lasting love. And this time we are on secret number 6. So before we dive into secret number 6, just want to give you a quick review of what we've covered so far. Now, when we get to secret number 100, we're not going to read the whole list at the beginning of the show. We're just going to do just a big review, because see, Jesse says that I can really get wound up and go on and on and on. But that's one of the things he loves about me, so I don't take it as a criticism. So the first thing was, we're telling the story of James and Miriam, and they are a composite of couples like you, like us, like people that we have worked with, people who have loving relationships, people who want to be together, and they adore each other, but sometimes they get to a place where they get stuck. And so James and Marion, if you're joining us for the first time, James and Marion, they get stuck in arguing about the least little thing. And so, and as empty nesters, they want to stop doing that. I mean, they're in their not quite golden years, but they're on their way. They're on their way. So we talked about how they decided that they wanted to have something better, that they wanted to spend more of their time enjoying each other. And so in summary, they decided that they wanted something different, and they both decided that they were going to do something about it. And so where we are so far is that keeping you updated and revealing to you what they are discovering about themselves, and how what they have discovered about themselves is revealed during their arguments. So last time we focused on the fact that when they get into it, that James tends to shut down like a turtle. He goes into a shell, and that is very painful for Marion. What Marion does, because she wants the connection back, she tries and tries and tries. And when she realized the way that she tries, because sometimes she raises her voice, and sometimes she goes on and on. I know about going on and on. So, but the intensity is very hurtful to James. And so now that they know their patterns that get in the way of them restoring and repairing connection, because we all lose connection sometimes. Yeah. We all do. There's either a rupture or there is a sharp disconnect. So now they know not only their patterns when they're in survival mode, that's what we call it. When they're in survival mode, they also know how the impact of their reactions are hurtful to each other. And so where we left off last time is that in understanding and being aware of their reactions, that it's not a time for them to judge themselves and to guilt themselves. It's a time for compassion, because those behaviors have a purpose, and had a purpose like throughout their lifetime. Mm-hmm. And so they're still operating in their marriage. So anyway, so they now have compassion for it. So secret number 6. Secret number 6 is healing the wounds. And we have a process that we gave James and Marians of the world that we're in contact with, that we want to share with you. So actually it's 4 parts. So they started with compassion, not beat themselves up because they minimize or maximize. They started with that. But now they have 3 more things to do. One is to the action step of remorse, or being in touch with becoming more remorseful for the impact of their reactions to each other. That's what I was trying to say. And then the other one is making amends. And the third one is forgiveness. So let's take them one by one. Being remorseful. So let's take a moment and talk about that a little bit. So what does that mean? So I think one way that we can summarize it is to say that it's a way of experiencing deep regret and maybe guilt for being hurtful. Oftentimes people will say, they're aware that they did something that was hurtful, and they will say they're sorry. Now, when they say they're sorry, they just want to get over it. They just want to move forward. But they don't take the time to really tap into, I really did do this, and it really did hurt. So that's why they needed the compassion. So what happened for James and Marion is that James realized that when he shut down and disconnected from Marion, that hurt, because she feels loved and cared about when they're touchy-feely and all that kind of stuff. And when they're talking and, eye to eye, that kind of thing. So she doesn't have that when they're not talking to each other. So he realized, because he saw they shared their journals, and they were able to see their impact on each other. So he had remorse for that because he loves this woman, and he did not want to hurt her. And he also didn't want to get to the point that things would get so bad that they would wind up having a divorce.
Right.
So in our Imago world, we call that behavior pattern minimizing. And we use the symbol of a turtle going into their shell, because they're really protecting themselves from feeling pain. And one thing I realized, that a lot of times men don't talk about pain. I'll ask, well, what are you feeling? Angry. Yep. And what else are you feeling? Angry. So, but it takes awareness to know that beneath the surface, there are other layers. And when you hit the core of it, that it is hurt. It's hurt and fear. Those are the main two feelings. So anyway, he had remorse for that because he does not want to hurt Marion.
Right.
So what Marion got in touch with is that she gets intense, shall we say, when she is upset. Because when that bond is broken, when that feeling of connection is broken, she got in touch with the fact that beneath the surface of all of that is anxiety and terror. So when she's in that state, and then she is trying to get the connection back with James, the way that she does it is hurtful. So that experience of connection with James is something that James doesn't want, because it hurts him to have someone raising their voice, telling him what he did wrong, and going on and on and on about that. So when she was aware of that, she became remorseful, because actually that was the only way that she knew how to get his attention. But when she found out the consequence of that, she said, wow, I don't want to do that anymore. So why is it important for people to be remorseful about being hurtful? It's one reason. There's a lot of reasons. One is, it's so important to be accountable and to take responsibility for the ways that a person contributes to the nightmare of the relationship, as well as the way that they contribute to the dream. So it's not, people don't spend all day contributing to the nightmare, but when they're in that survival mode kind of thing, when they're in conflict, they certainly are. And they both have their own role, because they're trying to get through it. They just don't have, they have 7-year-old skills. 7-year-old emotional skills in a grown body. And I've been seeing that a lot lately, but I'm not going to get into that. So, how does a person tap into that remorseful energy? The main tool that we usually use is validation. Yeah. And what we mean by that is um, validation for self, that it makes sense that I would react that way when I'm having this kind of experience. It wasn't the best way, but it makes sense that I would do that. It's not something I'm going to keep doing it, because what is insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for another result. So I'm not going to keep doing that. But to acknowledge and to validate cause and effect, and also to be able to say, it doesn't work. It's not getting me the results that I want. Also, it's also important to validate the impact on the partner. Right. It's like when I do that, it makes sense that for James, it makes sense that he was shut down because this is painful for him. And if James was validating Marion, he would say, it makes sense that you would try to reconnect with me because the connection is so important to you. So that's the first step. Remorseful. Being remorseful. And notice the BE word that I'm using for all three. Okay, let's go to the second one. The second one is being a change agent. And that's interesting that kind of term works for us, because when we were in the school system, we were change agents. We were community organizers. We were community relations folks. We were out there creating change, supporting people to create change. And so it's really important. And also supporting people to discover how to become change agents in their relationship. The community, with the teachers, with the students, with the parents, that whole kind of thing. So those councils that a lot of schools have, school community councils kind of thing, that was our thing. I mean, we loved bringing people together, and that's what we do in our work as well. So being a change agent. So here's a quote. It's not a person's mistake which defines them. It is the way they make amends. So being remorseful is first. Making amends is second. Now, making amends, just like being remorseful, is more than words. Because when a person says that they're sorry, it doesn't always mean that they feel it in their being. Right. When a person says that they're going to do better, or that they're going to do something different, that they're going to replace hurtful behavior, it does not mean that they are going to do it. And many times they do not know how to do it.
Right, right.
So it's the way that a person makes amends. So what are they? What are amends? So amends, when you're making amends in a relationship and you're being a change agent, it's demonstrating, it's taking action steps that are positive and intentional toward healing the hurt. That means instead of James minimizing, then he's going to be more present with Marion. Now, he doesn't know how to do that yet, but the first step is to know that that is important. For Marion, it is a positive intention and a commitment to take an adult time out and do some self-soothing and become reflective of, first of all, what she's experiencing, because that needs to be honored first. And then number two, to be clear about what she wanted from James. Because if she can articulate what it is that she wants, well, he can hear that. Because for James, it's like, because I remember you used to ask me, okay, what is it that you want? Well, since I never had it, I didn't know to ask for it. So same way with Miriam, but she needs to know that that is the second step in terms of making amends. So awareness is one part, and then putting it into practice over and over and over again makes a difference because it builds trust. It builds trust, right? Okay, so what about the third one? The third one is being forgiving. Now, that's one thing that's kind of difficult for people at times.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times people struggle with the whole concept of forgiveness. So, one of the quotes that we like is before we can forgive one another, we have to understand one another. And so, James and Marion have been on a journey to understand each other more deeply, understand themselves and understand each other, because that's where the compassion comes from. When you know the root of the problem and you can get to the root of solution, then you can do something about it. And that's what they are doing. So, what is forgiveness? So, our favorite definition is forgiveness is a conscious and deliberate decision to release negative feelings about being wrong. I saw something not too long ago that part of forgiveness is to when when a person has done something harmful and they haven't decided to do anything about it, release them to God. They'll have there's a cause and effect. There will be a consequence for them, but that's not my job. It's not your job. It's not your job. Our job is to release the feelings that go with it. And what that looks like, which is why we like to do the tapping kind of thing, what that looks like is you get to the place where you neutralize the feelings when you have the memory of being wronged. The idea is to first get to having a neutral response. It's like you can talk about it like you're telling a story. You can talk about it without getting angry. You can talk about it without tears. You are just sharing a story because you're feeling neutral. The next part of it is to be able to tell the story and feeling a sense of peace. So, why is that important? Because we cannot function if we're walking around with intense feelings. I mean, just because a person's favorite way of coping when they're under stress and when they shut down, just because they disengage, it does not mean that they're not feeling intense feelings. The person who maximizes, we just know that their feelings are intense. But those intense feelings are there for both styles, both coping styles. Anytime a person is consistently feeling intense feelings of upset, it affects their mental health and it affects their physical health. Yeah. I remember watching, was it Dr. Oz or someone I was watching, but they made a connection between intense feelings and the impact on the heart. So, so getting to that place of neutrality and peace is healthy. It's healthy. So, how do you forgive another person? How do you neutralize those feelings? So, the first thing is to start with self and to forgive self in terms of, yes, I'm validating myself that I was hurtful. I was in reactive mode. I forgive myself for that. Maya Angelou says, when we know better, we do better. And so that's part of the self compassion. And then decide on self care for how you're going to take care of yourself so that next time you get triggered, you're going to go into that new response that we talked about earlier. And how do you forgive the other person? Almost the same way. Mm-hmm. Almost the same way. Actually, I give you the one for forgiving the other person first. So the one for forgiving yourself is, okay, Jesse, I just turned them around. So let me try it again. So forgiving yourself for being hurtful, you take responsibility for it. You become accountable for your behavior. Mm-hmm. You think about it in advance. If you go into reactive mode and you leave a wound, and maybe there was a scar that was wounded from last time, then you take responsibility and validate to the other person, I know that I was hurtful. And my goal is to, next time, I'm going to respond in a better way. I am committed to being more respectful. I am committed to being more loving. I am committed to being more caring. I'm committed to becoming more and more of the change that I want to see. I've been focusing on the change that I want to see in you, and I know that how important it is for me to become the change that I want to see. Okay. I'm trying to remember who says that. Gandhi. Yeah. Gandhi. Yeah. So that's the big picture in terms of the three healing aspects that we can cover in this short time. So what about you? It's your turn. Let's take a look at the opportunity for you. So now you have another tool to take a look at and to experiment with in your own relationship. In addition to self-compassion, you now have information about becoming more remorseful, about becoming more of a change agent, meaning in making amends. And you also have an idea about becoming more forgiving. So all of these feelings, all of these steps support a healing process. Because when you show up in these three ways, the impact on the other person is healing. The impact on you is that you're growing qualities that already reside within you, hidden treasures, we call them, that you're tapping into those and you're stretching and growing them. You're growing up that 7-year-old inside that's stuck into survival mode with tunnel vision and blind spots to any other possibility. So now's the time that you can add these three behaviors to your healing process. And we want to caution you. A lot of people look for change overnight. Doesn't happen overnight. Growth is slow. It's like watching grass grow. So be patient with yourself in trying these tools. And sometimes if you want support, let yourself have a support partner. Your mate, your spouse, they could be a really great support partner, and you can do that together. The other part of this that is a benefit in growing more aspects of the best version of yourself is building character. And that's always a wonderful thing to do. So if you would like support in getting started on this secret or secret number 5 or any of the secrets that we share with you for lasting love, we invite you to sign up for a telephone consultation with both of us. And we will support you to get a jump start into implementing these tools and these secrets that we're so delighted to share with you. So thank you again for joining us for Live with Jesse and Melva. We will see you next time. Take care.
watch Live with Jesse and Melva right here on Solivity TV every Sunday at 5:30 Eastern. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now.